You know, Max and I like to start on time and end on time.
Yeah.
Or early. Or early, take your pick. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and call the Board Finance and Audit Committee meeting at 12 o'clock on August 15th. Call to order. Can you do roll call for Suzanne?
Someone just popped on.
Okay,
So we have Chad Brown, and I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
Brent.
Brent.
Yeah.
And then I didn't recognize you, and Joe, Shelley, and Angela, and online we have Max, and it looks like Shutney. Can you hear us, Shutney? Hello. Awesome.
thank you. And can we get an approval of the agenda, please?
Move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Can you second it, Max?
Yeah, second.
Okay. There's no one in person for public participation. Is there anybody online who would like to say anything? Okay, we'll move forward. Can I get approval of the minutes, please?
I move to approve.
A second.
Okay,
Hello.
great. Can I hear somebody say hello?
Yeah, this is Chris Letterman.
Hi, Chris.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us. Okay, moving along. Angela, would you like to discuss the finances, please?
Yes, ma'am.
For July?
Well, first, the packet is enclosed for your review. And just as a quick summary, for July, the net gain was 215,000. And it was primarily due to an increase in inpatient days over prior month. The ED was up 14.8%. Occupational therapy was up 18.9%. And ultrasound was up 10.5%. So if we take the July actuals compared to the July budget, the July budget had an anticipated net gain of 1.1. I wrote something wrong. 1.99 million. So if we look at it on a month-by-month basis, it does appear to be a shortfall to budget of 1.58 million. However, when looking at the budget in total month by month, there appears to be a bit of a pacing issue with the seasonality of the business. So in the budget, there show 5 months where there is a net loss. But when we look at what we actually did in fiscal year of 25, we have had 11 out of 12 months that had a net gain. So the budget just has a little bit of a swing on the bottom line. So while it does show a significant miss in July, we feel that that's going to flatten out throughout the year. So we do believe that we are going to still be close to target or on target. Let's see. The balance sheet, the AR decreased 2.19 million.
Hey, Angela,
Yes.
can we just pause there? I just want to kind of dwell on that, what you just said about the budget versus actual a little bit and go, I think I'd like to, if we could, because it's just important for us to understand kind of from, the first fiscal month, kind of where we are and, where we're going. And I think it just makes sense for us to spend a little bit or more time on that. And if we want to do it after you go through the balance sheet, that's fine. I just want to spend a little bit of time on page 7 of the packet going through some of the line items there.
Absolutely.
And And so on the far left column is the actual month, the second column is the month budget, and then you got the variance. And then two over from that, you've got the prior year for the current month as well. And of course, the year to date's the same because it's the first month. And uh, maybe if we could start maybe at line 17 and look at that decrement, the miss to budget of 1.1 million. And, it looks like it's kind of, we had a million positive on the gross, and then the contractuals were, about 2 million negative to give us that 1.1. So could you just kind of maybe give us a King's English kind of discussion of what happened there, why we've got both why we're lower against the budget there?
Uh, Yes, sir, and I apologize. I was looking for my flux analysis and I can't seem to put my finger on it at this moment. As to the changes and contractuals, we have done some work on the contractuals that has had us realign some items by service line. We are continuing that good work, but we are seeing where we are increasing some of the reserves, particularly regarding Wildflower Court. We identified some opportunity to reserve additional, and it was 2.189 million against the open and aged AR for Wildflower Court, and that is simply because the AR was aging out significantly, and we identified some areas there to reserve against.
So is that the net of, what line is that on?
We do believe that there are some reclassifications there. It looks like it is sitting in outpatient, needs to be moved actually to line 10. So it is a reclassification issue we identified.
So you've got some contractual for Wildflower Court sitting in line 11 that needs to move up to line 10, right?
Correct.
All right. So that contractual adjustment is due to, you said it was an age out. Is it age out is it self-pays, or what is that?
There is a significant amount of self-pay that had aged out. There was some process improvements that have recently occurred where we identified a method to focus in on people who are not electing their Medicare and Medicaid timely and are moving to self-pay, so that is being caught quicker. Probably that was an opportunity. And there is some folks that have spent down that were on self-pay that is being identified quickly within 30 days now. But historically, some of that HDR has been deemed uncollectible.
So that would be, my understanding, that would be bad debt more than it would be a contractual adjustment, right?
We're reserving it as we continue to work through all the processes and identify each piece as bad debt and truly uncollectible.
Okay. So how much of this is the sins of the past? Are we picking up in July something that is really rightfully a FY25 adjustment?
It is sins of the past, and it is something that we will outline in detail and make sure that it is accounted for. It'll also be one of those items that is put below net gain in the future so that we can appropriately identify anything that was a prior period issue, similar to what we discussed on like the PERS adjustment, things that don't truly belong in operational. We will have those outlined appropriately. This is an interim step until we can get to that good place.
Okay, so then, the books aren't closed on 6/30/25 yet, right? That's still, you're still in the process of closing that, correct?
Correct, they're in audit and we are working through that process. And as soon as we have a response from the auditors on the contractual adjustments and ensure there are no further adjustments to contractuals, we will be making those adjustments appropriately.
Yeah, so I guess that's what I'm trying to get at. And you mentioned PERS, and so to throw that out, I mean, if we have things that are impacting either our allowances or our bad debt that is for activity related to 25, whether it's patient service based or any expense, including the PERS benefit, all of that is going to get posted back to 25 before we close that and get filtered out at 26. Is that a fair statement?
That is a fair statement, and we will ensure that anything of that is non-operational is moved below the line, so we get an accurate picture, not only of what belonged in fiscal year 25 versus fiscal year 26, but also that if anything was prior to fiscal year 26, it is below that bottom line as an adjustment, so we have a clear picture of what hospital and organizational operations proved out and actually netted as a net gain versus any issues that might muddy the waters.
Yeah, okay. All right, just so I'm clear though, this reclass between operating and non-operating, that is only going to happen after you've closed 25 and after you close 25, you identify something that's related to 25, you're going to pick that up in this non-operating section. But until you close those books, you're going to book this stuff back to 25, correct? And not have it anywhere in 26, operating or non-operating. Is that correct?
I'm working with the auditors to make sure that our adjustments are in alignment with theirs. So that is in process, but yes, that is the intent.
Okay, all right. So I guess moving on then, could you speak a little bit to, I guess, a couple of variances in the operating expense that I'm interested in, and maybe start with line 27 on materials and supplies, and then we'll just go through each of the ones that I've got some questions about.
Yes, sir. And again, I apologize. I did not have my variance analysis in front of me. I do know
Okay.
that there were specific things that were driving those variances, and the team did work very hard to identify each and every one of those in a significant amount of detail. There were some outliers in those accounts that drove those, and I would be happy to provide those details.
Is it okay if we just pause for a minute and let you grab that and then we can go through it? I mean, we could pause for 5 minutes, couldn't we, Shelley?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
let's
Take a
just
quick
take a
pause.
brief pause until you can get that stuff and we can go through it.
Someone need muted.
Oh, thank you. I apologize for having.
That's all right. It's all good.
Okay. I'm looking at line 27. I believe the team was still working on that specific item. There was a, I believe this related to, some maintenance contracts that, we were looking at to ensure that none of these were prepaid, but there were some increases in maintenance during the month. But I will get you a comprehensive answer on it.
That's the material and supply line item or this code? Base got this code.
I believe it was, yes, but there were some specific things that we looked at that. There was also the increase in supplies from OR3 coming online, and that was another component of it.
Okay. All right. Why are physician contracts? I'm moving up. I'm sorry, I skipped over one of them I wanted to talk about, which is 25. Physician contracts, which is, it's not up a huge amount over budgets a little bit, but it's up quite a bit over prior year. What's in that variance?
It's gonna be predominantly our use of contract orthopedic doctors.
That's the orthos that are going in there. Okay. So are they just more than you were thinking they were going to be when you put the budget together, Joe?
Yeah, quite a bit more. Like when we did the budget, it was just Dr. Gray, Dr. Wilbur. And so as we've added more people to help cover the locums call and the emergency call, it's just been over what we expected.
The
Okay.
counterpoint being that it is revenue generating, that is offsetting that increased expense.
Yeah. Okay. So all of that should push through the facility fee. I mean, when we think about an increase in physician contracts, you'd theoretically think, okay, these guys are busy, and so we're going to have more OR activity, and so our outpatient line 4 is going to be higher, which it is, and a lot of that's facility fee, isn't it? Or are there other pieces to that?
Well, you also see it in the line 12 physician, or it's line 8, sorry, physician revenue.
Oh, there it is. Yeah. Okay.
We
Got
do
it.
have a lot of those outpatient facility fees. And so as Angela talked about, we did have July was the first month we ran all of our 3 ORs concurrently. So we had all 3 of them open for a week. So we had additional physician fees. We had additional anesthesiology fees too during the month. So that was about 25,000 of that. Yeah,
50.
was it 50 for that month?
It was 25 for 2 weeks. Yes, 25 a week for 2 weeks. So it was a total of 50.
Is most of their activity, since it's kind of new and growing, I mean, maybe it's a little bit of off the cuff kind of answer you have to give. I appreciate that, but are they generally first dollar insurance, or is it generally Medicare with one of the add-ons?
They do a large portion of Medicare. Yeah.
It is a lot of Medicare. Okay.
They do a lot of Medicare.
Okay. Maintenance and repair, it's 29. So that one's less than budget, less than prior year. And, it just makes you wonder if we've got some kind of maintenance that is, we're going to have a catch-up month in 2 or 3 months. Can you speak to that at all, Angela?
Yes, I believe there is a portion of that sitting in materials and supplies and needs to be reclassed. It is something that we're working on tightening up our month-end processes, and we will see some improvement in the consistency of those numbers.
Okay, that's fair enough. And then insurance, even the dollar amount isn't big, line 31, it's, as a percent of the line itself, it's kind of a big increase. What is going on with that?
That would have been the tail policy we had to purchase. And I don't
Is that-
remember what specific position that was for.
I believe it was it's the general surgeon,
Yes,
Schmidt.
Schmidt. That sounds right.
Yeah. We
Is
had
that a one-time tale or is that over several periods?
it was a one-time tell. So she went from FTE to like a locum status. And so when she did that switch, we brought the tail and moved her on to our group policy.
Okay. Interest expense was up quite a bit. What is that?
Interest is specifically from the city, and I would have to look at that journal entry to identify, and we'll get you an answer.
Okay, yeah, if we could follow up on that. And then the last thing I had on here for now is line 37, interest income. You know, when you and I talked about this, Angela, it's such a small number, it just makes you wonder if it's been fully recorded, which this is, of course, the earnings number coming in from CBJ, but have we gotten that from them yet?
There seems to be a pacing issue with those entries, but we are tightening up the processes with CBJ, so we should have that posting shortly.
Okay. Okay. And then can we move on to line 8 because it's P&L and I just want to focus on some of that just to make sure we're all kind of on the same page. So this is Wildflower Court. So there's two things that aren't on this page. And one is, it looks like a fully recorded contractual allowance. And then the second thing is an allocation of costs. And I know those are both kind of work in progress, but could you speak to those, please?
Absolutely. So we had spoken before about adding contractuals to Wildflower Court, Home Health and Hospice, as well as doing cost allocations from BRH as an organization where most of the cost is sitting on the hospital for all administrative functions, whether it's HR, payroll, accounting, you name it. We will be doing those allocations. We'll be recording contractuals on the respective P&Ls and then doing the cost allocations below. And then doing a rolled up consolidated, right? So if I take, say the hospital has $10 of total cost and $1 belongs over on Wildflower Court, we'll take $1 out of here, put $1 here on a line below. So it's very clear this is a corporate cost allocation or an organizational cost allocation. When you see the consolidated, it'll only show the $10, right? Because we're taking $1 out of here and putting it over here. Those things will be coming. We don't want to make those adjustments arbitrarily and then have it come back where we need to make additional adjustments, either because of any audit changes or the updated cost report for the year. So we want to only make those changes and restate once. So we will be making those changes after we close audit and then get the cost report for FY25. So we anticipate those late October, early November timeframe to start showing the financials that way. The other thing that we are going to do for clarity is right now we show Home Health and Hospice and Wildflower Court and the consolidated. So it doesn't give you a clear picture of how those roll up, right? You can't take those three statements and get to the total. So we will be adding in the hospital and the clinical P&Ls once we get to that stage, so that you could take all 5 of those statements for the different subsidiaries, if you want to call them that, the different service lines, and you can look at the consolidated time amount. So you get a very clear picture of what's happening with each service line. So it's coming. It's not built yet, but we will get there.
Thank you for that. And Shelley, just a quick question on that. So that when you do book that and do that catch up, and when we get to October, November, or whenever, you're going to go back and book it in each month. So July, August, and September. You're not going to do it all or catch up at once. And I'm just more or less thinking about the comparability for future periods.
That is correct. We will go back and restate each month. So, and it'll be noted as a restated statement. so that it is very clear what has been adjusted. And then we'll walk folks through, so we will do an income statement walk that says, here's where we started, here's where we ended, this is what we changed. So it'll be
Thank you.
very as to what occurred.
Thanks. And just one last question on these P&Ls. You know, these look like reports out of the old Meditech system. And so have you just built what was in Meditech in the new system? And so they just look similar, or, you know, what are we actually seeing here? Is this an Excel or what is this?
This is in Excel. So what I've done is taken the trial balance from NetSuite. And these reports are built in Excel. And I've just done formulas to pull from the trial balance out of NetSuite. And then there are some checksums and, you know, hash totals and all the fun accounting things to make sure everything's in balance.
Yeah, I gotcha. Are you moving to have these come so you don't have to go through the export into Excel, and so you can just, I mean, if the format is different, so what, you know, but are we going to get these directly out of NetSuite at some point, Angela?
Absolutely. NetSuite is capable of doing that. We're addressing some additional things that we need just from a functionality standpoint first. And then we will be building these out in NetSuite.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thanks, Shelley.
Any other questions from the group? Did you finish?
I think next was balance sheet. Okay, which will be quick. The AR did decrease to 0.19 million. And that was primarily tied to the reserves for Wildflower Court. If we remove that from the equation, then AR would have increased to about 347,000. AP decreased 1.3 million from catching up on payments. We had an increase in construction and process, or CIP, of 1.4. And with the ins and outs, although it's not one-to-one, when we look at those total, we did see cash decrease about 2.5 million. But that was from ongoing projects, paying out AP, and then a little bit of AR increasing, net of that non-cash contractual adjustment. And that is it for balance sheet. Any questions on that?
Okay. I have a question on page. There it is. Mental health unit. Inpatient days. It seems those continue to go down. Is that due to staffing?
It's a mixed staffing, and kind of, they were putting a cap on stuff that people trained up. Kim might be able to address this a little bit more. We pushed back on that, and they've increased the cap at this point as we have more staff. Not more staff.
Okay. So we should start to see.
Yeah, our census, I think the last couple of weeks has been closer to 67. So it's starting to come up. It will be over 200 days, I think.
Great, thank you.
And Shelley, I think you were looking at like at page 15, right? When you, yeah. And Angela, we talked about this before, but if you just take a look at those way those charts are pulling those numbers for the lines above, I think they're just they're off a month or something like that. At least for the mental health unit, it looks like that. So
Will do.
not a big deal.
Any other questions on the financials for Angela?
Yeah, I'd just like to if we could go to 17, which is the Wildflower Court. And I really like the second page that you've or the second chart, I mean, that you've done there. You know, so we're getting a better picture of the kind of what's going on there. Joe, are we approaching kind of full capacity at Wildflower Court?
Yeah, we're at full capacity at this point, and so Deb's done a good job of making sure all the beds are full. So as she has discharges, she's working with our staff to get admits back in. So typically, she's somewhere between 55 and 56 patients. Full being right around 57. She's done a good job keeping that full.
And is there a plan to double up in the double rooms, or no? Are you gonna leave them singles or what?
We've looked at that, but some of that goes back to the residents, the particular
Yeah.
residents. They're gonna be a good fit with each other.
Right. Yeah, okay. So we have, what is our max capacity? Is it 61, 63?
61.
61, yeah. So yeah, so we're right there. That's great. There's a lot of work that went into getting us there, Joe, and it's good on you and good on everybody in the Wildflower Court team for getting us to that point, because that, it's, I know we're not allocating cost to it, I get that, but nevertheless, it's still generating a very strong bottom line, and that's great to see. So
Yeah, it was, Tim and Deb both put a tremendous amount of work to make sure we have the right staff. And yeah, so all the credit goes to them.
yeah. Yep, and with the work, the report we got last board meeting about the, for the CNA staffing and, continuing to pursue that. I mean, hopefully we can get some more efficiencies in terms of the staffing costs too, right?
Ideally, yes.
Yeah, ideally, yeah. Okay, that's all I had, Shelley.
Okay, thank you. Joe, Silver Housing?
So for housing, this goes back to the kind of a CARES program that's run through the city, CPJ. So in early September, the Assembly put the Sobering Center back on their agenda for conversations. So I think it was the first Tuesday of the month. Me and Deb and Kim went down, attended the Assembly meeting. It was brought forward. There is a memo that I'll be including in the packet for the full board for consideration. And so the city's looking at how do we move this forward? So there was a grant application where we can get the state to help fund the renovations for the Sobering Center. So we helped Deb and St. Vincent de Paul go through and submit an application so they can apply for those funds. And so they submitted the initial application to the city. The city subcommittee actually approved their application as the application that would go forward from the city to the state. The hard part with this is the award wouldn't take place till next March, with funding happening in September or October of next year. So there's a lot of discussion with our Assembly members around how we move this forward. There's concerns about space in general, and is it adequate for the use? Some of the conversations we've had with St. Vincent de Paul is the space has been in that relative state for the last 5 years. So with their push trying to move the service to Wildflower or to the RRC building, we're trying to find plans where it doesn't come off campus. There's a lot of discussion with St. Vincent de Paul and the Assembly about where is the best place for that service to take place. I think everyone agrees its current location is best suited for the clientele, both from access to services and having that population kind of wandering around campus. So we're trying to work with St. Vincent de Paul to help them move that forward. But during this meeting, the Assembly brought forward is, should we wait and should they fund it? Or should Bartlett fund it? Should they fund it with Bartlett's money, I guess, is the question. So there was actually 2 resolutions they put forward. One of it being funding the renovations with Bartlett's money. And one funding it with Bartlett's money plus $290,000 they have from the opiate settlements that they've received. Some of those lawsuits. So there was a lot of discussion about that. I just wanted to put it in front of finance for discussion. So there is opportunity costs if they do push that service into RRC. Losing the space would be one part of it. The second part is we'd have, as they discharge people, they just wander around the campus. If you ever have the opportunity to walk around the Aurora building, it's not exactly a gentle slope. So we have concerns about drunk people walking out, falling down there, stumbling onto the highway, or just, we've had lawsuits where people climbed up on stuff here, fallen and hit their head, and we get sued for. So there is concerns. But just want to bring it for discussion. If someone has thoughts, my intent is to add this back to the full board. I'm gonna add the 2 resolutions that the assembly was supposed to put in writing. I haven't got copies of those yet. Well, that's kind of the memo. And then just bring it forward for action or discussion more than I wanted to start here. Is there any questions on any of that? I know it's kind of high level. I was hoping Deb would be here to add to the discussion from state benefits side.
I guess I'm
So
curious why. Go
I have a
ahead.
question. Okay,
Go ahead, Max.
Joe, what is the dollar amount again that if they did fund it from Bartlett, what's the dollar amount?
Current estimates to fund it on the past design would be an additional $763,000.
So I guess I would say that, two things I'd observe. One is, we as a board last spring, and incorporated into our FY26 budget, a repayment of 1/3 of the advance that we had gotten from the city in the prior year. And that would, to me, would be an excellent use of the remaining 2/3 of the amount we intend to repay to the city. So if it would almost be like what we would be doing is advancing against the amount that we kind of have a tentative plan to repay to the city anyway. So from that standpoint, I think we've got this, kind of already thought through process of repaying the city for that advance we got, and we can use it for that. And the second thing I would just say is I completely agree with you in spades that to have that on campus is both disruptive, and there's a huge opportunity cost to not having that available for other services that we make money for. So.
With that,
Yes.
same thought, with the money we were giving back to the city, why not put that towards this?
So with that thought process, I'll add this to the agenda for the full board, and I'll write up an action item that kind of reflects a couple of those options for you guys to consider, with the goal of bringing an action item out of the next board meeting. I was gonna bring it here and try to move it forward, but I thought this it's probably better suited for the full board discussion. So that's why we did put that as an action item for this meeting.
And how
Yeah,
do you
that's
think
fine. I
the city-
agree with that too.
How do you think the city, how will they think about that?
I mean, they kind of discussed it a little bit. Neil actually brought that concept of using it as like a prepayment, and so he tried to work that into the resolution. But obviously, they can't make that resolution. But it was discussed that use it as a prepayment.
Okay.
And so I think they're open to that.
Good.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you. Kim, will you discuss the Steris washer and irrigator, please?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I will just say I'm in an area that's loud inside and it's getting ready to storm outside. So if I lose you, I will try to hop back on. So you've been provided a couple of quotes for washer equipment for the OR. You'll see one that outlines just for the washer portion only, which is kind of what we currently have now. The challenges with that is when you just use the regular washer, you have to let it sit there, let the equipment and stuff sit there for a little bit of time, and it really decreases turnaround time. So because the instruments have to soak, especially for the robotic instruments, they have to soak for about 90 seconds per cycle, which again, which significantly decreases turnaround times. If we can go with the ultrasonic, the washer and the ultrasonic irrigator, that will help us be able to improve processing times just in general. Our washer in the OR has, ironically, seems to break every week. We planned the weeks that we plan to open the third OR. We've been able to get parts for it, but it is at end of life, and we need to get it replaced. So we want to take advantage of, again, providing the 2 quotes, and the action item is, and the suggestion is that the Finance Committee would approve the washer and the ultrasonic irrigator for the 235,000 and some change, to be able to, help increase efficiency. And then also with the washer piece, be able to replace the one that's already 20+ years old. I'm happy to answer any questions, if y'all have any.
I have a question as to how old is the other washer?
I will have to look. I think the other washer is only, I want to say it's less than 10 years old. We looked
So
at
it has-
that thinking that maybe we needed to replace both of them. But the other one still has lots of life left in it, and parts available to fix. And the current one that we have that's 20 years old doesn't, it's end of life and parts are problematic to come by.
Okay, Angela?
If I may, it's 3 years old.
Got it, watching.
The other washer is 3 years old.
Better. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Angela.
Do other people have questions?
I guess it's more of a, I have a question about kind of process for getting one of these things approved. Normally when we have a capital item like this, it normally starts in planning committee and gets then kicked over to us, and then we chew on it and then forward it to the board if we agree with it. And my understanding is, correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding is part of the reason we haven't done that this time is because it's kind of a urgent situation. We need to get moving on it, which I'm fine with if that is the case. I just want to just maybe kind of a point of order say that, we want to stick with kind of the well-trodden path of taking these things through planning first. And
Yeah,
Joe, am
thank
I missing that? Or Kim?
Yeah, thank you for that. No, you're not missing that. I think you hit it spot on, which is this is unfortunately something that, was out of the control, that, the washer is antiquated. And the concern is that if we waited to send it through planning, through finance, and then full board, that we might end up affecting operations literally and figuratively by having to stop surgeries. It really does impact surgical services when we only have one washer working, and it does delay cases or we end up canceling cases. So we felt the quickest option was to go this route so we could get it in front of the finance committee, and get the approval for the full board so we could get this ordered. There is tends to be a back order for these washers. So it also, that added into the decision as how we presented it to this board instead of going through planning initially.
Thanks, Kim. Yeah, I don't have any problem with this. Shelley, whenever you are, I'm ready to make a motion.
Anything else, Brad? Okay, I think we're ready for the motion.
I move the finance committee of Bartlett Regional Hospital approve the Steris washer and ultrasonic irrigator quote as presented and move it to the full board of directors for approval.
Second.
Great. Okay,
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Kim.
you're welcome. Are there any committee comments or questions? Anything else?
I do have a question, or maybe it's a comment. How is controller recruitment going, Angela and Joe?
Have good news.
Great.
We have a controller that has signed the offer letter and is intending to relocate to Juneau and expected to start the end of October. It comes to us from a rural hospital in Idaho in an isolated area and happened to be communicating with the auditors this morning that this person was coming on board, and our auditors have actually worked with this controller prior and had wonderful things to say about him. So we are excited to have this person come on board.
Congratulations. That is great to hear. And his current employer made a counter to him to try to keep him, right?
They did. They made a significant counter, but he felt that with the bigger system here and the mentorship and the larger exposure, that this was a better avenue.
Strong
Groovy.
work.
Finding housing, right?
That's Chad's job.
Yeah.
Angela, does that mean you're gonna go from working 16 hours a day to 12 or what?
Well, I don't want to admit to part-time.
Okay, anything else? Alrighty, I am going to adjourn the finance meeting. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Need more hands. It's